My name is Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it. Do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and beer.
Years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
And community policing, right? What about community dispatching?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch with me, Ashley, the Raspy Dispatcher. I hope you all are doing well, doing amazing. If you haven't seen or follow me on social medias, got a few things going on right now. We just released our first ever custom challenge coin, Raspy Dispatcher on one side, because the world needs more dispatchers on the other. And we're currently selling those and doing some shirt raffles. You get a coin and a sticker and a chance to enter to win a Because shirt, as well as we have really officially started and pushed our private Facebook group titled Let's Talk Dispatch. And what I love about the Facebook group is that it's open to previous, current, and aspiring dispatchers. And that aspiring dispatchers portion is something that's near and dear to my heart. It's one of the reasons that I really got going with all of this Raspy Dispatcher stuff, is to really provide resources, information to those who are trying to get in the field, because I couldn't find a lot when I was going through the process. So I know we need more dispatchers after becoming one. And I think this Facebook group, in addition to all of our resources, really allows folks who are really interested in the field to ask folks who have been doing it, so they can really get a good understanding without people telling them to run away quickly of this, if this is a job that's fit for them. So definitely check out those two things: our Facebook group, Let's Talk Dispatch, and the new merch that's on our website, theraspydispatcher.com. And referring to folks who have been doing this a while, my guest today is entering their 23rd year of service as a dispatcher in so many different roles, from just a regular dispatcher, shift supervisor, GIS, CAD database manager. The list goes on. My guest today, Dan Wright. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Ashley, how are you today?
I am well. Yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Where are you joining us from?
Well, today I'm joining us from Gulf Shores, Alabama, Baldwin County, Alabama. I'm actually in my unfinished home office, so you'll have to pardon the construction move-in portion behind me. Didn't plan on being here today, but life's events, chose me to be at home today. But
that is just like dispatch, the life is unexpected, right? So we gotta just keep it moving. But I know it's building a home office is very fun, but also like very chaotic, like at the same time.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into public safety in your journey.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for this opportunity to be here and speak with you and all of your audience. Just really appreciate it. Love sharing my story, and never imagined as a young teenager or a young man being where I'm at today, but got started in the volunteer fire service and got laid off from my first ever job at the grocery store. And the same day I got laid off, got a call from the local 911 agency that I had applied with and interviewed with. Went to work at 911 and started out as part-time at that point. Was in school and on my own, so I just took everything I could get and jumped in and fell in love with 911. My goal was to be a career firefighter. I was just wasn't really a childhood dream per se, maybe a teenage dream more so, and went on to the career fire service. But the one constant in my professional career since I started 911 is I have never left 911 in the 23 years that I've been in 911. So been able to complete a career in the fire service, and now in 911 full-time as a deputy director.
Very, very cool. So when you made that shift to 911, was it very intentional? Like you applied and it was something that interested you, or was it something that you applied for, got into, and was like, wow, This is awesome.
It was a stepping stone. It was let me get through school,
Mm,
go to EMT school and get finished with school, paramedic school, and get the fire service, and I'd go from there.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that I can describe it even still today, other than there seemed being a fireman was cool. It was fun, but I've always felt uh, more calling, if you will. I know that's a cliche term, but just more ability to make the biggest impact in 911.
That's amazing. And I know, like you said, like fire was great and amazing. And I don't think we hear it often enough, the impact that, especially comparative to like the typical first responder careers, officer, firefighter, EMT, dispatch kind of being held into that same category. And so I think it's amazing that you went through the fire department and love that, but there was something really special about dispatch.
Yeah, most definitely. I've been very, very blessed through the years to serve in so many roles in 911. As you mentioned, I've participated in almost every aspect of 911, from taking the calls to the IT side, the CAD side, GIS, and management as well.
Mm.
And just to know what all goes into the processing of the call, from the time that phone rings until we get the responders to the scene. What all goes into that is you know I, being in the fire service. We go to the station, we get in the trucks, we go do the thing, take care of the
Mhm.
people. And there's obviously a lot that goes into that, but uh, the amount of work and the commitment and just the drive and the passion and the love from people that sit in the seat and under the headset, behind the headset, and take these calls. And I wish we did a better job in the industry of knowing how many people's lives a dispatcher affects versus a responder in the field. Because
Mhm.
I've been to thousands of calls in the field, but if I had been a call taker for 23 years, how many thousands of calls and people could I have affected? And we downgrade ourselves a lot
Mhm.
in 911 as a call taker, because we get jaded, because just like a paramedic or a firefighter does, we
Mhm.
see the same stuff every day. But I try to instill in our staff the mindset of, it doesn't matter how small something seems to you and how mundane it is. That person called you because that's all they knew at that time. You are their hero. They're calling 911 because they don't know what else to do. And the only thing that they can think of is to call you, and you get to be helping that person at that particular time in their life.
Mhm. It is really true, and especially when you talk about the the amount of folks that we talk to as call takers, right? Because one big difference that I've noticed through my career in regards to folks who respond in person in the field and dispatchers is my unit can be on a call for their entire shift, depending
Mhm.
on the severity, right? If it's a DV, if it's a shooting, if it's, a fatal car accident, they're going to be sitting on that for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Whereas I took that call and now I have another DV coming in. I
Mhm.
have another this coming in. I have another that coming in. And I think, as you said, like that's a huge thing that we miss when we're talking about the differences of impact
Right.
that dispatchers receive if we're just talking about trauma we're receiving, as well as folks we're impacting, because my units are doing great work out there, one call at a time.
Yep.
I'm going call to call to call to call and then sending units to the different calls. So it's a huge thing. I think you're right. We do kind of glaze over.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I had to pinpoint one thing that has kept me in 911, it's that I just have this drive and passion to help as many people as I can. And while now my main goal is to develop people that
Mhm.
take these calls, that's at the end of the day, it's all about still helping those people. because the decisions that we make every day in management and administration trickle down to those that are answering the call so that they can make that impact on the people that are calling.
So true. Supervisory management, it really having a strong sense and a strong connection with your management and supervisor, feeling like they get it, feeling like they care about, you, the one answering the call, goes such a long way in making a comm center functional and making folks want to stay and making folks want to continue to give to this community. And it sounds like you're doing great work at your center with that.
Well, I appreciate it. We definitely try as hard as we can. Nobody's perfect. Every family has their squabbles.
We don't talk about that, Dan. We're perfect.
But we do our best to promote a strong, healthy work environment. We do our best to take care of our staff, to recognize our staff, to let them know that we appreciate them and that we know the work they do every day. We've started the Tree of Life little thing on the wall that has really grown, if you will. That's been great. A lot of great publicity from that. We try to implement the latest and greatest technology, sometimes to a fault, sometimes it don't work.
Yeah.
But we've implemented a lot of things that have undoubtedly saved lives by just being on the front end of some technology changes. And I know that those things are all scary and, it brings change and a lot of anxiety and all those things. But we in the administrative part of this business owe it to our staff to vet this stuff and to be sure that it is for the benefit of the people calling. And, there's been things that we've, as an agency, said no to because it in theory, it sounds great. But at the end of the day, on the dispatch floor during a 911 call, it just isn't going to work.
That's true. I mean, we love some new technology here at the Raspy Dispatcher, but and the reason that a lot of dispatchers go into the private sector working for these companies, working for these tech companies, is to provide that reality of this isn't going to be functional when I'm in the middle of taking a crisis. And, that is, as you said, very important to vet and see if it is something that really will translate into the real world of what we're dealing with in 911.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we've got to be very cautious of in the industry as a whole as we move forward. And I don't believe, this is speculative, of course, but I don't believe that we've even scratched the surface of the things that are going to be tossed towards us, saying that we need to do this or you need to do this. And let's just be real and candid for a moment. A lot of places when their chiefs or their captains or whomever gets sold an item, it gets pushed down on us or you guys to make it work. And a lot of times there's no understanding of how all that works. And I feel for those that are in those positions that get stuck with that type of setup. And I don't think anybody sets out to do anything wrong. It's a good idea in theory, and just in real world it doesn't work. And so I hope that I'm doing a good enough job on a bigger level besides just in our agency to preach and to push out that technology is great. We need data. We need data directly to the responders. Because we need to be more efficient and we need to be more effective, and humans make mistakes every single day. Doesn't matter how hard we try. When those 30 calls pop within 30 seconds, we're going to make mistakes. And we need to do our part to get this information to the responders with as least resistance as possible, but it's got to work, and it cannot bog down that one call taker that takes that one call during that 30 that is a different call that needs their direct attention. And we can't worry about having to make sure that all these pieces work when we need to be giving CPR to a mother who just found their child not breathing. And I try to approach everything like that is how can we implement these things, make these things work, make us better, but still have that human to be able to recognize and make that decision at the time that is needed.
Awesome. Well, you've been doing this for 23 years.
Yep.
What was it like in the beginning in regards to technology, in regards to your transition from fire to this? Like, what was it like for you?
Oh man, I tell you, it's I sit back and I started in a rural county in my hometown in Clanton, Alabama, between Birmingham and Montgomery. Anybody that's ever traveled Interstate 65 in Alabama has seen the big Peach Water Tower. That's where I'm from. So I remember base station radio, desk mic, DOS base CAD, command line, all DOS base CAD, no mouse, no no user.
I'm getting anxiety thinking about it.
It was a 10-button phone where
my
it
God.
was like you see them old phones in the offices where you had to pick up, you had like your 911 lines. I mean, it was, but then it was the latest greatest. No, when I first started, they had at least where I was, wireless phase 1 had just really hit. And so, it's been quite a journey. Quite a journey from going from taking calls. Of course, that was 2020-ish, 2001. So cell phones weren't as prolific then as they are now. We hit that in the 2005-ish, 7-ish when that really took off. So it was interesting. A lot of changes. I would have never imagined that we would see the technology changes that we have seen. And then, you look at 23 years, but then you look at the past 10 years and just what's happened in the past 10 years. And exciting and scary at the same time. But yeah, a lot of changes, lots of, I think that gives me a unique perspective coming from a small town, small PSAP, where we did everything. And, when you don't have a lot of resources, it makes you become more resourceful, if you will. And it makes you think things through a little better and do things more efficiently and effectively.
It's very true. I mean, and it's, for me in California, big city dispatching. And when I call into these more rural areas, like for a warrant or things like that, and they tell me like, oh, I'm gonna put you on hold, I'm gonna go pull the file. And I'm like, wait, pull the file? Some folks are still working on paper, and they just have a little thing there where the warrant's kept alive and, and they're faxing over the live document. And, and for me, like that, the technology difference is so vast. And knowing the fact that there are a lot of dispatch centers that are still getting the technology up to the current, standard that folks are working with in these bigger cities is wild to me. I feel like we all should be working with at least the computer technology, and that's just not the reality, right?
It's not. It's not. I mean, there's, I believe, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe there are places, even in Alabama, where they are still doing cards and logs for there's no computerized CAD. I can't. Of course, I'm sure they're slower and it's probably manageable, but we're going to push 150,000 911 calls this year. I can't even imagine trying to manage that with no computer. So it's easy for us to say, well, why are you not doing it this way, or why are you not doing it that way, or why do you not have this? Well, I mean, when you take every little piece and every little piece app, and then you take those 4, 5, 10 dispatchers that work there, and even with the proliferation of the internet and podcasts like yours, it's still tough to reach these people.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about it actually on the way home from work this morning that I'm going to be going to some more conferences this year and getting that aspect, and just thinking about how many folks that are doing this job versus how many folks are being connected. How many folks, for me specifically, that I'm able to reach. And you're right, there are so many dispatchers out there that you just don't reach, that you're just not connecting with yet. And it really is a little daunting when you think about how many dispatchers are really out there in the world, how many dispatchers we still need out there in the world, and that we're all just trying to connect and get on the same page with this life-saving service.
Yeah, I often liken it to working in silos. We as professionals, we get comfortable, and it works. We don't. Human beings, especially public safety, do not like change. And I think that I've been I've always been one of those people that question, why do we do it that way? Sometimes to my detriment, but I just always, and it's not that you're trying to create a new wheel, but sometimes there are better ways to do things, and there's a reasoning behind doing something a different way. There's sometimes a reason that you do it the way you do it. But I had one challenge to every dispatcher out there, to every call taker, to the first day person, and I encourage this in our organization, is ask why. Because sometimes I get too comfortable. A lot of my staff would disagree with that, but I know that I still get comfortable, and that's the only way that you drive innovation, you drive change, is to get uncomfortable, and it's tough a lot of days. It causes a lot of anxiety, it causes stress, and I know that's the last thing we need in this business. But if it's something that can make your job easier, when you get comfortable, I'll just be very candid. When you get comfortable, you look at things from a very blind perspective. And you often choose to not see the other side of what's being proposed. And hey, there are times that things are proposed that are not good. I've put things out and be like, oh, okay, that didn't go how I envisioned it. Let's back up.
Let's take that back.
But that's one thing but as a leader, you've got to engage your staff. We do very few things that do not involve our shift supervisors and our operations manager being involved in the decision making and in the implementation of a process. I'm not saying that there's not any that doesn't happen that way, but generally it's very involved, and we push that down as far as we can, depending on the timeline we're working in. Of how we want things to. We want everybody to feel engaged and involved, and we encourage questions, and we encourage, ideas. We try to preface that with, don't get discouraged if you put out 3 ideas and 3 of those do not get implemented either at all or right away. Your 4th idea may be the biggest thing we've ever done. And, that's tough for a lot of people, and I get that. It's so tough for me sometimes, But when you're connected and you feel passionate about something, I just think we need more people in this business that are taking those calls every day to ask why and to propose ideas.
And that's amazing. It's so empowering, because I think we've all experienced in our lives, whether, in dispatch or before dispatch, where we've had leaders that want you to be quiet and just follow orders, or just, do the thing. Don't ask questions, don't question the way you're doing it. And in this line of work, being empowered by leadership to ask why is amazing. And so the fact that you're empowering your people to bring their ideas to the forefront, to question the things that are happening, and always, of course, in respectful manners and ways and avenues. But opening that line of communication goes so far in making people want to stay and making people feel heard, because just like our callers, our folks in our dispatch centers, we want to feel heard by the people who are
Mhm.
managing us.
Yeah, and kind of our pre-discussion, one of the things you asked was, what are we doing to maintain our staff and to keep them engaged? And we probably do not do a good enough job of letting them know how empowered they really are. There's always improvement for that, but uh, it's about having everybody connected to the same mission and just encouraging. And sometimes as leadership, you have to do things that you don't necessarily understand why they want it, but they want it. And is it going to hurt something? Is it going to cause us to be in litigation? Is it going, let's just take for instance, and I hope some of my staff's going to watch this and they're going to think I'm proposing this, but let's just take for instance, say you wear uniforms and they want to wear t-shirts for one day or a month, well, what is that hurting? Why not let them do that?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we're a public agency. At any point, anybody could come in, new staff could come in. You should probably have your uniform shirt on standby in case, whatever happens and you're expected to wear this certain uniform, whatever, but that was a very elementary example, but we should, as leaders in administration, we should put forth the effort to provide our staff with the things they need, even though we may not, what I don't understand why. It doesn't really matter that I understand why. It matters that that's what they want.
Yes.
Does it stop us from fulfilling our mission, values, and goals? And if not, then we need to really consider it.
And I think that point is phenomenal, right? It's like, it doesn't matter if I understand, it just matters it's their want. And the question is, how does it affect our agency and our abilities to do our job? And I think we did a panel at Nina with a bunch of folks from Carbine about authenticity in the workplace. And that was a thing that came up, is this uniform debate, and kind of, folks who've been doing it a while and liking the uniformity of it and the professionalism of a uniform for the dispatchers and things of that nature. And then a lot of folks who are newer to this are just kind of having that impact of, how does what I am wearing affect my work? I'm here for 12, 13 hours a day. I don't want to be in tacticals or, full class C's or, whatever the situation looks like for our centers. But I do think it all, no matter what the topic is, does go back to, does this affect the ability to do my job and the legalities of it? And if it doesn't, why are we not considering those things to better our people?
Yeah, I can give you a real world example, talk to the uniform aspect of it. I mean, so I'll just give an administration management standpoint, so while every agency is different, we pretty much stay open to the public within reason. So we encourage the media to come by or whomever to come by. So for us, from an administrative standpoint, it's okay. We need to be presentable if one of our board members or elected official comes in. We probably shouldn't be in pajamas at work. If somebody
Definitely
like
a onesie. Definitely a onesie.
with the pink bunny slippers, right?
Yes.
But so one of the things that they presented was that they wanted to wear blue jeans. Me personally, I guess because I wore uniform pants for 25 years, I'm not a big blue jean fan. I think they're uncomfortable. It's just me. I'd rather wear slacks that are loose fitting and don't. But anyway, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter that it made sense to me. That's what they wanted. So we pushed it through and we got it passed. And now their uniform is blue jeans. Of course, they have to be decent. They're not the pre-cut
Whitewash, acid washed.
But so they're in blue jeans now. That's their uniform. Pants is denim pants or blue jeans. So.
And I imagine if someone still wanted to rock the slacks or tactical pants, they still have that option, right? Like it still all
100%.
falls into it. So we're including folks, into the culture, into the situation going on in our centers, and I'm sure the folks who wanted to wear jeans are like so much happier in their 12-hour shifts in their what's equivalent in their mind sweatpants.
Exactly.
It's so cool, so cool. So do you remember any of your early first calls for service when you first started getting into this?
I really can't. I can remember a few blunders on the radio, but I don't really per se have any calls that necessarily stand out. I've got, of course, calls from the fire service that stand out, but from a dispatch perspective, I guess I just was never that call taker that took those calls. So I don't really have anything call taken related that just stands out where I really think that I was the reason that somebody made it through.
Yeah. Well, as someone who worked in the fire service, the question is, how do you feel about fire staging for
Well, you talk about like staging for like an unsafe scene, or
for like a 70-year-old who has dementia and
yeah. See, so I guess because I was in an urban fire department, city of Birmingham, we didn't stage a whole lot.
No?
We had such a big police department. They were pretty quick most of the time, but we actually had this running joke that we knew it was a real fire if we could see police on our approach because they had already got there. And if it was a shooting, then they would wait for us to get there. But yeah, I mean, 70-year-old dementia patient, we didn't.
Well, your people have to call my people because let me tell you, well, they're in their bed. They can't move out of their bed. All right, we're heading that way.
I've never been a fan of staging. I know there's a time and place, and look, I've been doing this a long time. I know it's a different world today than it was a while ago, years ago. But if I was still in the field, I may feel differently about it today. But I got 2, 3, 4 guys or people on the fire truck with a few select tools. You'll be all right. we can control the situation.
So do you think that coming into it as someone who was, being dispatched out to these calls helped you understand what's going on in the field better, help educate the folks in the dispatch center about things? Do you think that overlapped helped you ease into this side of the call?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I've had the ability to bring a unique perspective to both sides through my career in both fields. I was definitely always an advocate on the fire truck for the dispatchers. Telling people what may or may not be going on. We'd get dispatched to, I don't know, a broke leg, and we'd get there and the house is on fire, and they'd be like, why didn't they dispatch us the right call? I'm like, look, they just go with what they were told, man. These people call in and tell us crazy stuff.
But that is so true for folks who are listening and are like thinking about getting into this line of work. The things that people believe are important to communicate is like not always what you as the person responding or sending folks out to respond. We need more, or they give us too much. And I've had many calls are like, there's blood everywhere. And then you get there and it's like a paper cut. And you're like, what? Yeah. Where's, you're telling the officers like, there's blood everywhere, be prepared. And they're like, no, there was no blood.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, yeah, I mean, Yeah, but also from the dispatch side, I actually several years ago I kind of developed a little class at a little couple of conferences that I presented that really covered some in-depth technology, not technology, terminology
Mm.
for the dispatchers that they probably hear firefighters saying because
Mm.
that those silos. Dispatch works this way, fire works this way, law enforcement works this way. None of them talk to each other. They all think they all know what they're talking about. Nobody knows what's going on.
Hey, that's true.
And then everybody blames the dispatcher because nobody knew what was going on. So,
Mhm.
I just think using that terminology and being able to, even in my current role, being able to explain to our staff, and we're very blessed and fortunate in our current organization because our training coordinator retired from the fire service, and
Mm.
we primarily dispatch fire and EMS. We do a little LE dispatch, but we're able to really hammer into our trainees in a lot of parts of our training the fire service terminologies and
Mm.
EMS terminology. He's a retired firefighter paramedic, so we're very blessed in our organization that we have that ability. But
Mm.
what I would encourage is work with your local responders. Of course, A fire department, B fire department, C fire department is going to all do things different.
Mm.
But just having that general knowledge, if they just come in and teach a 2-hour class during your
Mm.
training of your new hires, that's more than they're getting today.
Mm.
And if you do a lot of LE dispatch, then do the same thing with that. Find somebody that's willing to put in the work and help guide them. If you've got access to fire instructors, and people in the fire service that are actually instructors, probably be a little more prepared.
Mhm.
But I would strongly encourage those that have the influence to bring in some outside resources as part of your training curriculum, even if it's just for an hour. Whatever they can get would be beneficial.
And it's something I would imagine we don't really think about very often. And I don't think I realized until I lateraled just how much language is, differs between agencies. We did 9 code at my last agency, one of only 2 departments in California to do 9 code, and that's the one I originally started at. So I got to learn 10 code when I lateraled, and I had to learn about warrants and all these NCIC things, these CLETS things that I wasn't dealing with at my previous agency. And then when you look at it as how the firefighters, how the police officers, how the folks who are in the field are looking at these things, like all the language can be so different. So the idea that you're presenting to bring those folks who are out there in the field to educate the dispatchers and vice versa, really, it's such a simple concept. I think that we don't think about very often, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the things we've also done, again, our training coordinator has been amazing. But he's actually gone out into the field and taught classes to the fire departments,
Mm.
1 hour, hour and a half communications class, taught several of those. And it's, we've seen some improvements. We're still young in that process. And,
Mhm.
the unfortunate part is, especially with the volunteer fire service, is there's a lot of turnover, just like there is in dispatch.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I think that we've also got to change our mindset. And when my staff listens to this, we'll roll their eyes. But we've got to change our mindset in this business that we only want people that want to be here forever like us, and
Mm.
we just don't have that anymore. Yeah, we're going to find a few here and there sprinkled in, but the majority. My goal right now, my goal when we hire is I want to get 2 years out of a person. If I can get 2 years, then we're doing well, and hopefully a few of those will stay. And
Yeah.
but we just we got to continually be training, continually be recruiting, continually be hiring. I've actually recently changed our hiring strategy from we true government agency. We'd get a resignation, we'd wait till they quit, then we'd start advertising,
Mhm.
then we got a test, then we got a schedule interview. The whole 4
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
Well, I've totally flipped that on its side. I'm constantly
Yes.
hiring right now. We're constantly accepting applications, and
Yes.
I communicate with these people that apply, and I tell them, look, here's our assessment. take it. We're going to put you on the list. I don't know when we'll be hiring, but you'll be the first to be contacted.
Yeah.
We just finished up interviews this week, and we'll be making some job offers to some people.
Awesome.
We just, we were fully staffed for a few weeks, and this summer we had 5 people leave us for different careers.
Yeah, because they got fully staffed and it scared them. They're like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I got to get out of here before it goes down.
So we're a big tourist area. There's 8+ million people that visit our county every year, tourism wise, and so we went through the majority of the summer at minimum staffing. So but about to hire our last 2 to get back to full staffing. By the end of the year, we'll be fully staffed. Knock on something.
Hey, I got you. That's awesome, and I do think that the concept that you're talking about, because I talk about it too, is like we want more dispatchers, but we want more happy dispatchers. We want folks to be thriving, and if they do that for 2-3 years and then they're ready to be on to something new, my hope is that it's still impacting the first responder services and community. But if they're not doing it here with us in the 911 center, it's because we've given them the tools, knowledge, and equipment to go out there and be successful in the world and take the good things about dispatch out and tell the world about it. Because what we don't want is a disgruntled dispatcher out there dogging the career, and that we already have a bad rep per se that we're trying to shake a little bit in our toxicity that can be in our centers. And if we give folks a good experience, they're going to go tell folks, and folks who are looking for jobs might come take a shot at what we're doing in dispatch. So
I tell our staff all the time, look, I get that we may be working short, but if somebody doesn't want to be here, we shouldn't want them to be here. And that sounds so cold to say that, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, we don't go to a doctor that we don't want to go to. Why? I just think public safety as a whole, more so dispatch, we can't be short. We got to make Susie happy, whatever we need to do to Susie, and then we try to pacify Susie, and Susie comes in and still moaning and griping, and then Johnny's mad, and then Paul's mad, and then I call it a cancer.
Yeah.
And I know that my mom just got diagnosed with breast cancer, and I do not mean that in any kind of an insensitive way, but it's like a cancer in the dispatch room, because once it gets one person, it's going to spread. There's nothing you can do to stop it unless you kill it.
Yeah.
I say kill it very loosely.
Yeah.
But unless you throw some radiation at that thing and get it out of there, it's going to spread to others.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've done in my entire management that season here is just, hey, look, if we could do something within reason to satisfy you and to make you happy, as long as it doesn't cause a reasonable accommodation, if you will, then hey, let's do it. But we both got to understand that I can't get, you've been here a year. I can't give you Monday through Friday at 8 to 4 dispatch shift that doesn't exist because that's what you want. So does everybody else, but this doesn't work that way.
Yeah, there has to be a little bit of a reality in like what this job is. I think a lot of times, the one thing I tell folks who are trying to get into the field is like, this is the reality of your schedule for at least the first 18 months. You're gonna be all over the place in your training, day shift, swing shift, graves, like however that agency has it set up, but it will not be consistent. And even once you get out of that, it might be consistently what you don't want, a graveyard shift, for me, a day shift, whatever, but it's not a job that bends to you. And I think some people who are coming from, the civilian life work think I'll get in there, they'll hire me, and then I'll change my availability, or like, I'll do the whole switcheroo. And it's like, well, no, they'll just let you go because they're not going to adapt to you. And that's just a reality you either have to be okay with, or it's a reality where, hey, it's not a good fit for me. And that's okay too.
Yeah. This job is not for everybody.
It's really not.
Yeah, we've gotten to where we tell people during our interview process, after all the formal questions are asked and the structured interview questions are taken care of, we just have a candid chat session and we tell them like, look, I know we asked you, are you available to work nights, weekends, and holidays? And you
Yeah.
said yes, but I need you to understand that means nights, weekends, and holidays. That means birthdays. That means Christmas. I mean,
Mm,
if you're on one shift, so we have set days on our shift. So
mm,
one crew works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If
mhm,
you're on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're working every single Thanksgiving. If
mhm,
you're on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're working all Monday holidays. There's a
mhm.
lot of them, in case
Yeah.
nobody realized there's a lot of them. So, just because if we choose to hire you, candidate, we're
Mhm.
not changing that because of you.
Yeah.
You're not changing that. This
Mm.
is how it is.
Yeah.
And so we've had to start telling people that. I've had one, not at this agency, in my previous agency, I had one person we hired that once we got done with the classroom training, got ready to assign them to a shift, and they said, I can't work that shift. Like, excuse me?
Yeah.
They brought them to me as a director, and I was like, what's going on? And she told me, she said, yeah, I mean, I just thought that once I got here, just like you just said, I
Yeah.
just thought once you hired me that you just let me work when I could. I was, nope, that's not,
Mhm.
you're supposed to be here at this time. If you can't do it, then you can just resign right now.
Yeah. It's a reality. It really, really is. I mean, especially in our world where we're based on seniority half the time, it's just
Mhm.
like, and it's not when we're talking about the holidays, birthdays, weekends, well, it's not like, could you? It's like when you
Yeah,
have to do this, are you going to show up? Or are you going to not show up and then force someone else to have to show up? Because that's
yeah,
the consequence, right? It's like if you're not going to go do this thing, we have to pull someone else away that rightfully has that day off from their family, their whatever, to come fill the spot that you're leaving. So
right.
it's a ripple effect in our comm centers.
Yeah, and I think we probably don't do a good enough job explaining that to candidates, and that's what we're
Mhm,
trying to change. A
mhm,
lot of people come from the service industry, trying to better themselves. I completely applaud that. It's what I did.
mhm.
But if you work at a fast food restaurant and you call in sick, well, it just takes somebody else 3 minutes to get their next sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we don't work that way.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have minimum staffing for a reason because that means that many people have to be there
yeah.
to fulfill our mission. We
Mhm.
waiting 3 minutes on a 911 call to be answered because you chose not to come to work because your big toe hurt today
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah, like, in a world, like, pre-COVID, I had to be, like, dying
Yeah,
to not come into work, and then you're, like, still, like, hyping yourself up. You're, like, in the hospital on the IV, like, "Okay, I gotta call work, I gotta tell them 'em I'm sick, I gotta"
yeah,
you're, like, convincing yourself, like, you're in the hospital, like, it's okay.
yeah.
Call off, and you're still like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." Oh man. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you, we've been talking a lot about leadership, creating, healthy, empowering centers. And I mean, we don't have to be in leadership to be a leader.
Correct.
We talk about that a lot on this show. But as a director, what is something you wish you knew sooner as you transitioned into your leadership roles throughout your career for folks who are out there trying to maybe step into those roles in a not even in a professional, official manner, but even an unofficial manner.
So I'm glad you asked that question because this is something I've actually learned about myself in the past year,
Mm,
and I wish that I knew more about myself and why I think the way I think.
mm,
And I'll add some context to that. So, you know, as with anybody, I've faced definite challenges in my leadership and management. I'm a very task driven person.
mm,
And so learned that through DISC assessments and other personality studies on myself. And, uh, it was like an epiphany for me and made me really step back and think about some of the decisions I had made in the past
mm,
and know that I could have done things differently. Not that the outcome would have been different, but
mm,
I could have handled things differently and a little more delicately than I did. Not to pacify, not to BS, not to sugarcoat, but I struggle with understanding feelings, even my own feelings. And so being so task driven, like my D I don't know if you know much about the DISC model, but my D is off, like legit off the chart D. I should have had it ready, but it's off the chart. Just having a better understanding of myself and knowing why I think the way that I think and why I approach things the way I approach them has been a really a big turning point for me, even at this point in my career. And I hope that that my staff is seeing a difference in that. It's a daily challenge, admittedly. It is a daily challenge to accomplish that. But learn as much as yourself about you that you can, because even though I've been very successful, I do believe, no, I know that had I known what I know about myself just 5 years ago, I would be so much more developed as a manager and leader, and be able to offer even more value to people and to develop others than I have been in those past 5 years. So learn about yourself. Take these assessments. Read books. Leadership books are great, but focus more on learning about the psychology behind your mind and your personality.
And thank you for sharing that, because the vulnerability that goes into that whole statement, right? That as a leader, you're telling your people, like, look, I didn't know myself well enough to lead to my fullest ability. And not that I was a poor leader previously, but at reflecting, there are things I could have done better and would have done better if I had this understanding that I do have now. And I think for folks who are being led by you and folks that are being led by people in general, it just speaks volumes to them to hear that level of understanding, that level of admittance. It really does go a long way, Dan. So I do applaud you for figuring that out and then being willing to tell, the world about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty open about it. I'm definitely not a perfect person, and I still fail every day. I need help every day to be my best, but I can't even explain and put into words, the eye-opening moment I had when, and I hope it's okay if I say this, Tracy Eldridge and her DISC assessment, and the program that she's doing through that just opened me to myself so much. And it wasn't that I didn't know that I was task driven. It was understanding what made me think that way and what drove me to that. And I guess in a way, how extreme that was, because like somebody says, and I've always just thought, well, I'm just a butthole, I've just accepted that. That's just who I am. But it's not who I really want to be. It's just I'm so intertwined and just so focused on, like, I don't know, birthdays. I can't remember anybody's birthday. And I'm like, why can't I remember this?
Yeah.
My brain's not wired that way. I'm not supposed to. And other people are like, oh, so-and-so's birthday, we need to do this. We need to give them balloons. And I'm like, how do you think about that? I'm worried about the budget. I'm worried about call and answer times. And I'm worried about, I got to get my son from school. And I'm worried about all these other things, And I don't think about stuff like that. And it's just understanding that. And so I said something that a lot of people liked. I said, I've got to tell myself, okay, I'm task driven. Well, I need to make people a task. I need to make being involved and being vulnerable and feelings a task, so that it just falls into my task list.
Yeah, I mean, we love Tracy Elridge here. She's a good friend of mine.
Okay, good,
Um,
good.
her E&P study group, if you're thinking about doing your E&P, yes, she is doing the DIS stuff, and we've talked about that in the past as well. And it's such a good tool
Mhm.
that I think every leader, every individual in general should definitely use and get to know themselves a little better.
Yeah, so we've actually implemented a program internally. So all of our staff did the DISC assessment. We
Awesome.
got all those. We got all the report and the comparison report. And so
Mhm.
what we do now is our new hires. One of the first things they do in the first couple of days is they take a DISC assessment. And
Hmm.
so then our training coordinator, takes that, evaluates it, then watches them as they're in the classroom training to make sure that everything lines up.
Hmm.
And so then we pair the trainees with a CTO that their profiles match. And
Mm.
so we're just over a year into that. And we have a 100% success rate with trainees
That's
making it through training.
awesome. That's so, so, so cool.
Mhm.
And I mean, it goes back to like a simplicity of it, right? Is
Yeah.
just having the tool to understand the person will make the person more successful.
Yep.
And like when you say it like that, it's like, well, duh, but we've also been doing it like uphill, in the rain, snow, and whatever for so long. Sometimes it's hard for us to like, I want to work downhill now,
Yeah.
like that's weird. That feels awkward to us. So, I'm sure having that process for your trainees, especially if they have no previous dispatch experience, which is one of the reasons I love this line of work, is you're all trained in house so we can get good folks who are
Mhm.
not necessarily in the first responder world and get them into this career.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that you guys are using that there.
Yeah. We're really excited. I say we're really excited. I hate to be losing people and having to hire people, but if
Yeah.
we're going to do it, let's do it right. So,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited about how that transpires over the next couple of years, and we get some more real world data to be able to prove that out.
Yeah, and I would only imagine that if you have folks having a better trained experience, they're gonna be more confident, and we might be
Mhm.
able to hold on to them a little longer, you know?
Yeah, we're hopeful.
Yeah.
I kind of measure. I'm probably wrong, but I kind of measure losing somebody about what they go to do next. If
Mm.
somebody changes careers, that I can't control that.
Yeah.
If somebody leaves me to go to another dispatch agency, yeah, I probably need to do a little deeper self evaluation.
Mhm.
Luckily, knock on wood, like I said, the ones that have left recently were just life changes they were making, and it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with us.
Awesome. Well, Dan, we have had an amazing conversation, and I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody on the closing of this lovely episode, which is, what advice would you give someone considering a career in dispatch?
Do it, do it, do it, do it. Accept the hours. Look, make your own life around it. I've been in public safety 25 years. We didn't have weekends. We had our
Mhm.
own holidays. It's manageable. It's doable. It's tough, but if you want something fulfilling in life, and if you have just this little bitty itch or light or spark that says that I need to do something bigger than myself, this is it. 25 years in, and I still look forward to going and leading people every day. I don't go to work. I go to lead people and to make an impact on people's lives. And it's an amazing career.
Awesome. Well, Dan, again, thank you so much for reaching out, being willing to come on the show and joining me today. I've learned so much, and I'm sure everyone who's been listening has learned so much as well.
Thanks so much, Ashley. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. I'll be right back with you. All right, everybody. That was another amazing episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch. Again, Dan, thank you so much for your knowledge and your wisdom, your vulnerability, being willing to lead and empower your people. It's something that we say and make sense, but more managers, more supervisors, our folks in leadership need to be doing this in our centers, really empowering our people to ask why, because those silos can be rough to be in by ourselves. So definitely encourage each other to ask the whys. And when you get asked the why as someone in leadership, understand it's coming from a knowledge-seeking place and not a combative one. So again, thank you all for listening, tuning in. Check out the raspydispatcher.com for the new merch. Head to Facebook, Let's Talk Dispatch, Let's Talk Dispatch private Facebook group. Go ahead and join us there. We're doing a lot of amazing things with the Raspy Dispatcher, and it's only getting better and better, and that's because of all of you folks. So again, thank you all so much. Until next time, stay raspy, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let's Talk Dispatch, a Raspy Dispatcher production. If you liked the podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, and of course, tell a friend. If you want to be a guest, head to the raspydispatcher.com and check out our additional resources. Until next time, stay raspy, everybody.